Hi, y'all. Today we are solving polynomials by factoring. Okay, so we're solving, we're going to continue the factoring that we have been doing. So we're just adding on like a final step here. So we're going to factor as normal using any of the methods that are there. So we have GCF, difference of squares, sum or difference of cubes. We have the quadratic form when it has x squared to the fourth, and then quadratic form when it has x squared. And then we have factoring by a grouping. So we're going to use any of these methods. And then once it is in its factored form, we're going to set each of these equal to 0. And then we're going to solve for them. And that will tell us all of the solutions that we have. So we'll start with f of x here. Take a moment to write that down. Pause the video if you need to. So I notice that this is in quadratic form with x to the fourth, x squared, and a number by itself, constant term. So I am going to use the x factor or the multiply and add if you need to. So I'm going to look for GCF. There's not one, so I'm going to start by doing 2 times 2. So that would be 4. So I need numbers that multiply to get 4 and add to get negative 5. Right, so I'm thinking 1 and 4. Since it is negative 5, I'm going to do negative 4, negative 1. Since we multiplied in that 2, I'm now going to divide out that 2. Simplify if I can. So this is going to be negative 2. And this is not going to do anything. So negative 1/2 like that. So I'm going to have x squared, since this is x to the fourth, minus 2, and x squared minus 1/2. I want to make sure that I'm not including that fraction there. So I'm going to go ahead and take this 2, move it up here. So I have 2x squared minus 1 squared minus 2. If that part is complicated, make sure that you watch last week's video or last time's video so that you can check that out. So this is the function. It's a quartic function. We want to find out what the solutions are, which is where the line hits the x-axis. So we're looking for where the y is equal to 0, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to set each of these factors equal to 0 and solve for them. So 2x squared minus 1 equals 0. So here I can say, okay, I'm going to add 2 on both sides. X squared equals 2. Take the square root of both sides. I have x equals positive or negative square root 2. So that is my first 2 answers, right? I have a positive version and a negative version, so that's 2 answers. And then I'm going to add 1 on both sides. 2x squared equals 1, divided by 2. X squared equals 1/2. Take the square root, both sides. X equals positive or negative square root of 1/2. This is fine for now. There is another, it's called rationalizing the denominator. If you know how to do that, you can take it a step further here. But this is fine for now. You'll notice that I have 4 solutions here. I have x equals positive square root 2, negative square root 2, positive square root of 1/2, and negative square root of 1/2. Those 4 solutions are exactly what I want because my problem started with x to the fourth. Whatever the leading coefficient is, whatever the degree is on the leading term, that is how many solutions I should have. Right, so you'll know that you are correct when you have that many. It's called the fundamental theorem of algebra. We'll come back to it later. So I have my 4 solutions. Cool. Go ahead and pause the video. See if you can factor this one. It has 4 terms. So thinking about factoring by grouping. Pause it. Come back when you're ready. Okay, assuming we're back. I'm going to split these in half since I'm factoring by grouping. Taking a GCF out of here. I know I can take out, looks like 6 and also x squared. So I have 6x squared, and left over I'd have 3x plus 5. And then out of here, there's nothing to take out. So I'm just going to take out 1. And that'll leave me with 3x plus 5. I need it to be in this format because remember, I need this to be the same as that. So we can take out that 1 if it helps me. So that means I'm taking out 3x plus 5 from everything. And I have 6x squared plus 1 left over here. So it's in its factored form now. Remember that the second step is to set all the factors to 0. So I'm going to say, okay, 3x plus 5 equals 0, and 6x squared plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 5, divide by 3. So one of my solutions is x equals negative 5/3. And then I'm going to go ahead and subtract 1. 6x squared equals negative 1, divided by 6. X squared equals negative 1/6. Notice I would take the square root here, right? Take the square root of both sides. I get x equals, this is imaginary numbers, right? So since there's a negative inside the square root, that is imaginary. So I'm going to start with I here, and then I'm going to leave square root of 1/6 on the inside there. Remember, this is plus or minus, so that means that you have 2 answers there. Since it was x squared, you should have 2 answers. So these are those 2 answers. I am totally okay if you just write that there are 2 imaginary solutions. We'll come back to this stuff, but you should know that there is 1 real solution, which is negative 5/3, and 2 imaginary solutions, even if you're not able to do the I portion. Okay. Nice. All right. We're factoring. We're doing great. All right. Finally, we have this one here. This looks like it has 2 terms. It's either difference of squares or cubes. I see a cube there, so I'm going to go with that. I'm going to take a GCF out first, see if I can simplify my life. That's going to give me x to the 3rd plus 8. Yes. All right. And then I see, oh yeah, this is cubes, the sum of cubes. So remember, you have a, b, a squared, ab, b squared. And since it's addition, we'll start with addition. Opposite, always positive. All right. And I know that this is x cubed and 2 cubed. So I'm going to have x plus 2, x squared minus 2x plus 4, bringing down that 3 as well. So since the 3 is hanging out there, there's no variable. So that means that 3 is a factor, but it can't be set equal to 0 because 3 doesn't equal 0. So there's no solution that's coming out of here, right? If I say 3 equals 0, that's not true. So there's nothing, nothing to do there. So then for this one, I would have x plus 2 equals 0. Subtract that 2, you get x equals negative 2. That is one of our solutions. And then for this one, you can try to factor it, but there's nothing that multiplies to get 4 and adds to get negative 2. And since this is the sum of cubes, or the difference of cubes, when you factor it, the formula is telling you that this cannot be factored. So we would have to go a different route. We could use quadratic formula if we really wanted to know what the answers are. For the sake of our day today, I just want you to go ahead and say that there are 2 imaginary solutions. So we have 1 real solution, which is this one here, plus 2 imaginaries. That's 3 total solutions. Remember that since it started with x to the 3rd, we should have 3. So we have 1 real and 2 imaginaries. That means that we have 3. So this is our final answer for this problem here. Thanks, guys.